Li Miao Miao had just cut half a basket of pigweed and was about to find a shade to sit and rest and eat the shan pao that he picked up earlier. Li Xiaopeng, Li Miao Miao's cheap brother, ran over in a hurry. "Sister, it's not good, Dad. Fighting with Mom." Li Miao Miao said, with Erlang's legs tilted. He ate the mountain pao leisurely, not to mention, the mountain pao that she picked today is very sweet. Li Xiaopeng is almost dying of anxiety. "Sister, I said my parents are fighting, why are you not in a hurry?" Li Miao Miao directly blocked his mouth with shan pao. "Sweet." Li Xiaopeng nodded, "Sweet." Seeing that he was spouting water, Li Xiaopeng hurriedly covered his mouth with his hand until he wiped out the shan pao in his mouth, and started talking again. "Sister, I'm serious, there's a quarrel over there. When I came to call you, the captain, it's already over." Li Xiaopeng is really anxious. What if his parents get divorced because of this? Then he and his sister will become cabbage? "I see, what are you anxious about? We have small arms and legs, what can we do in the past? After eating shan power, it will not be too late. I am afraid that it is only a cannon fodder in the past." Li Miao Miao didn't pick many mountain puffs. The two brothers and sisters disappeared within a short time. Li Miao Miao patted the dirt on his buttocks, and his back was not full of pigweed, pulling Li Xiaopeng to the field. At this time, in the field, a thin figure was chasing a tall man, still cursing and saying, "Li Jianxi, you stand still and let me do some work, you will be a foreigner. You are still not a man." "Man! Guan Chenyan, don't go too far. I think you are a woman who let you go. Don't keep an inch." The young man named Li Jianxi retorted as he ran. "Just kidding, if this woman catches him, do you want his face? I have to take an inch? You work harder than a child, you are ashamed to say that I have to take an inch, you can stop me." The crowd onlookers next to him talked a lot. What's the matter, why did Li Jianxi and Li Jianxi get up again? How many times are these? I heard Jian's wife say that Jian was lazy at work, and when I was bumped into, the couple started working together. You believe this too? I didn't do much to build a wife, so it's not as good as her wife. I think the two of them just want to be lazy. The farce of chasing two people is not over yet, the crowd onlookers suddenly said. The captain is here, let me go. Captain Su Guangyuan had a black face at this time. What are they all around here for? Why don't you hurry up to work for me? If the food cannot be collected, all work points will be deducted for me. Su Guangyuan just finished teaching this group of people watching the show. Seeing that Li Jianxi and his wife hadn't stopped yet, he shouted loudly, "Li Jianxi, Guan Chenyan, if you continue to make trouble, I will deduct all of today's work points." Li Jianxi and Guan Chenyan stopped at the same time. Guan Chenyan grabbed Su Guangyuan's arm. "Captain, you have to call me the shots. It's a new era now. Li Jianxi is still beating his wife. You have to help me learn a lesson." Li Jianxi couldn't listen anymore. "Guan Chenyan, don't go too far. You are so embarrassed to say that I am too much? If it weren't for you, would I have suffered too much? Haha! If it wasn't for you." The couple had been doing well just now, but now they pushed again, waiting for Li Miao Miao's sister and brother to rush over in a hurry. The two fell off the ridge together and fainted directly. The crowd that was just still lively was in chaos in an instant. Captain Su Guangyuan's brows jumped. "What are you doing in a daze? How many people are here to lift them up?" This group of people is the same. It is not too big to watch the excitement. People are fainted and don't know how to bring them up. As soon as the captain spoke, someone took the initiative to bring Li Jianxi up. The crowd looked at Li Jianxi, whose heads were muddy. "How are people?" "I don't know." There was mud on his head, and they couldn't see it either. Li Miao Miao pushed aside the crowd and squeezed in. With tears in his eyes, he cried loudly, "Parents, what's the matter with you? Although I don't know what's going on, rationally tell Li Miao Miao that it's right to cry at this time. Career, you can count on coming, don't you know how fierce your parents were just now, you will be late and you won't see your parents anymore. Said a mean-looking woman. Some people can't stand it anymore, sister-in-law Zhang family? What do you say? Whose family doesn't fight? Why are you going to die? That's why the words of the folks in the village are so vicious. Zhang's sister-in-law was not convinced. Why am I vicious? I'm not telling the truth yet. Li Xiaopeng also arrived at this time. He saw that Li Miao Miao was crying so badly, and he thought that something happened to Li Jianxi and Li Jianxi, and they cried louder than Li Miao Miao. Li Miao Miao has been crying and crying for a long time before sobbing to Su Guangyuan, "Captain, my parents can't work like this now, please call someone to send them to the health clinic." Su Guangyuan was about to nod when seeing Li Jianxi's miserable appearance. The old lady Li who had heard the wind shouted, "Don't send it to the health clinic." Su Guangyuan's face turned dark, and he looked at the people who came. "I said, my old lady, your family's construction team is like this, you still don't send it to the health clinic." Old lady Li said with her waist crossed, "I said, if you don't give it, you won't give it." These two lazy people started to be lazy without looking at them. Li Miao Miao just cried, "Mom and Dad, why do you have such a hard life? You can't get a bite of delicious food all day long. If you fainted, you won't be allowed to see the doctor. If something happens, you will leave us siblings and brothers. What to do?" The two brothers and sisters cried miserably, which attracted many women watching the show to sympathize with them. Who told Li Miao Miao to tell the truth? Who in the Huangzhong production team didn't know that Li Jianxi and his wife had a low status at home? "I usually eat more at home, and I have to be scolded by Mrs. Li by pointing her nose. Now she is asking her to send her parents to the health clinic. Isn't that killing Mrs. Li?" I said, "Aunt Li, you can take the construction couple to the health clinic. You can't pay for a doctor." Granny Li jumped up and said, "You said it nicely. Of course you don't feel bad if you don't pay. Your boss doesn't get any less salary every month, so you can't bear to pay a few cents to the third?" I said, "Mrs. Li, you are too partial. Is it necessary for you to be an outsider to tell us about our Li family's affairs?" Su Guangyuan was too lazy to listen to Mrs. Li's wrangling. He called a few people to carry Li Jianxi and Li Jianxi back home, and the rest of them hurriedly sent to the ground. "Do you still need 1 day's work points? I tell you, if the food cannot be collected this year, don't blame me for saying bad things. The task of harvesting this summer is already heavy, and this group of people still gaggle. Auntie, don't join in the fun here, go to work." "No, I have to call the old three." She said nothing to let the old 3 and 2 be lazy. In the end, Su Guangyuan got mad, and the old lady Li went back to the ground and scolded Li Jianxi and his wife along the way. At this time, Li Jianxi and his wife have been carried back to Li's house. Of course, Li Miao Miao will not let her parents be carried directly to the bed. Their house has 1 big bed and 1 small bed. The big bed belongs to her parents, and the small bed naturally belongs to her and her cheap brother. If this bed gets dirty, her parents will have to hit the floor at night. Li Miao Miao moved a few stools from the hall, and put them on the stools. A young man headed by said, "Zayadai, we have sent people back, and the field is still busy, so we won't delay." Li Miao Miao tried to squeeze out 2 drops of golden beans. "Thank you, uncles and uncles. If it weren't for you, my parents are still lying in the field. The posture is so bad that people kneel and kowtow. The few men present all have children at home." Seeing Li Miao Miao like this, it is inevitable to feel distressed. "Thank you, it's all from the same team. I invite you to take good care of your parents." "I will." Li Miao Miao choked his forefoot and sent the person out. Seeing her fainted parents struck a carp on the back foot, they just sat up. Li Miao Miao was like hell, Parents, are you all right? Li Jianxi and Guan Chenyan looked guilty, and when they were hesitating to say what to say, Li Miao Miao laughed, Parents, it's great that you are all right. It really scared me to death just now. Know that you are pretending. Li Jianxi and Guan Chenyan are even more guilty, and they always feel that they are wrong to deceive children. But if you don't lie to the children, the two of them will have to go to the ground. I think one of them is a lady-in-law, and the other is a weak scholar who can't lift shoulders or hands. Let them go to the ground, isn't it killing them? Pretending every day is the limit. Li Jianxi was stared at by Li Miao Miao, his face was not red, his heart was not beating, and he said, I'm dizzy. Guan Chenyan looked contemptuous, she didn't faint, did he faint? Dad, take a rest first, I'll fetch water for you and Mom to wash. Li Miao Miao bounced away. I said Li Jianxi, don't go too far, you pretend to be addicted, right? Li Jianxi didn't change his face, I didn't pretend, I'm really dizzy. Guan Chenyan was angry. Li Miao Miao quickly came over with water and a towel. While Guan Chenyan was washing her face, Li Miao Miao helped them find the clothes. They are not favored in the 3 rooms. Their clothes are all patched and patched. Guan Chenyan wants to wash her hair after washing her face. She is worried that she will be scolded by Mrs. Li after washing her hair, so she simply doesn't wash it. When changing clothes, Guan Chenyan drove Li Jianxi and his daughter out. Li Miao Miao carried the basin and left. Li Jianxi followed her. Li Miao Miao heard her dad mutter, women are trouble. Li Miao Miao is sure that Li Jianxi is not her father, to be precise, he is not the honest father of the original. The day Li Miao Miao just wore it, she thought she was dreaming, so she didn't think her parents were weird. As time passed, plus what happened in the past few days, she was sure she was wearing a book. Is still wearing a book of blessings that I have read for a long time. The heroine in the book is of course not her. Their family is not even a supporting role. Ding Tian is a cannon fodder. However, the book says that her parents are honest people. In weekdays, both of them dared not say loudly, let alone fights, but in the past few days, her parents have had 2 or 3 fights. It is also commonplace. Li Miao Miao couldn't help sighing, what can I do? Originally, she was still thinking about transforming her parents. It turned out, the plan couldn't keep up with the changes. Sister, how are your parents? Li Xiaopeng's sudden appearance shocked Li Miao Miao. Where have you been? Why did you come back now? Li Xiaopeng looked aggrieved, Sister, I'm going to pick up the back basket you left. Li Miao Miao glanced behind him, and saw that Li Xiaopeng was carrying a basket that didn't match his height on his back. It was as funny as it looked. Li Miao Miao smiled unkindly, and hurriedly helped him remove the back basket, go and wash it. Li Xiaopeng shook his head, no, I'll go see my parents. Li Miao Miao grabbed him, Mom is changing clothes in the room, you go and wash it first. Li Xiaopeng reluctantly went to the kitchen to scoop water and wash his face. Li Miao Miao put the basket in the corner and helped Li Jianxi fetch a basin of water to carry it over, thank you girl. Li Miao Miao was surprised, Dad, when are you so polite? Li Jianxi stiffened, and forgot that the Lord would not say thank you to his daughter, and some only said that my daughter is hard work, or my daughter is sensible. Li Miao Miao didn't see Li Jianxi's small movements, turned around and asked her mother if she had changed her clothes. It's okay, okay. Guan Chenyan came out with a look of disgust, not she said, this Li family is too poor, and they wear clothes like beggars. As soon as she came out, Li Jianxi went back to the house to change clothes. Li Xiaopeng washed his face and rushed to hug Guan Chenyan's legs and acted like a baby. Guan Chenyan patted Li Xiaopeng's head, I'm fine, your dad can't beat me. Li Jianxi heard it coldly snorted, can he not beat it? He is a good man who doesn't fight with women. Li Miao Miao poured the water and came over, "Mom, you and Dad are resting at home, I'm going to mow pigweed." Her parents' people have collapsed, and hers can't collapse yet. "What are you cutting? You should rest at home for those with small arms and legs." When she was so old, let alone cutting pigweed, she didn't even know what pigweed was. Li Meow Meow narrowed his mouth. "If I don't go, I will have nothing to eat when I look back." Seeing her grievances, Guan Chenyan felt distressed. "Listen to me, don't go, there are so many people in the family, why let you mow pig grass by yourself? Do you have to listen to what your milk says? Are you stupid?" She doesn't like this kind of cowardly person the most, and the original owner doesn't care about it. How can she let her daughter live so badly? Doesn't it mean that it's the new century? Don't you have that old thinking? Li Meow Meow was still there. Guan Chenyan snatched the back basket from her. The children in the second room are older than her daughter. They haven't even gone to the ground, so why let her daughter do this and that? Li Jianxi came out at this time. As soon as he came out, Guan Chenyan said, "If you don't believe me, ask your dad, and see if she is reluctant to let you cut pig grass." Li Jianxi wanted to ask him what he was doing, but under the gaze of 3 pairs of eyes, he uttered the 2 words with difficulty. Guan Chenyan was happy. "You see, your dad has spoken, so please don't go." Li Meow Meow looked persuaded and really took Li Xiaopeng out to play. As soon as their siblings left, Guan Chenyan pulled Li Jianxi into the house, and Li Jianxi was in a defensive state. "I tell you that if a gentleman speaks but doesn't use his hands, it's okay to be in front of outsiders. You can't mess around at home." "Guan Chenyan, I really want to do it, can you stop it?" How can she practice it in her previous life? Li Jianxi, that seems to be the case. Guan Chenyan looked at him, feeling relieved. "Okay, I won't do it, let's talk about it later." With Guan Chenyan's guarantee, Li Jianxi walked into the room grittingly. After Guan Chenyan entered the house, she motioned to Li Jianxi to close the door. Li Jianxi looked wary. "What do you do with the door closed? Is there anything I can't say with the door open?" Guan Chenyan glared at him. "What if someone hears you without closing the door? Although the Li family will not come back, there is no guarantee that their sons and daughters will not come. If they hear it, it does not seem very good." Li Jianxi fastened the door, and Guan Chenyan said straightforwardly, "What are your plans for the future?" Li Jianxi said with a blank face, "I have no plans, I want to try if I can go back." Yes, he hasn't given up the hope of being able to go back. Compared with the endless work he has to do every day, he still wants to go back to read his books and test his champion. The life here is too bitter, and only half a month's work. Li Jianxi feels that it's been a long time after a few lifetimes. Know how he persevered during this period. Do you think I don't want to go back? Time has passed for so long, and we are still here. This means that we can't go back anymore. You don't understand such a simple truth. I don't know if you are stupid by reading. Before this, she opened her mouth and closed her mouth to test the champion, except for playing tricks with her, she couldn't count on anything else. Then what do you say? Li Jianxi stared at Guan Chenyan. What else can I do? Let the day go, aren't you scholars talking about what you say most? Forget it, I don't know what to say. Anyway, we have taken up the identity of others, so we have to bear this responsibility. Come on, besides, you don't know what life the couple are living at home. Guan Chenyan doesn't want to go back? She also thought, her brother and her siblings are the only ones in her family. If something happens to her, her father, mother and brother still don't know how to worry. If she had known that there would be today, what kind of temple fair she and the little sister would go to that day, if they didn't go to the temple fair, they wouldn't meet this surnamed Li, and would not be so unlucky if they didn't meet the surnamed Li. Forget it, don't mention the past. Li Jianxi was silent. Of course he knew what the original owner's family was. He didn't think anything was wrong before the change. After all, Pepsi is filial piety first. It's okay to be a son's daughter-in-law's mother-in-law, but now Li Jianxi doesn't think much anymore. These days are not for humans, so he still listens to what the mother is doing. When he was silent, Guan Chenyan continued, "We still have to discuss a charter, otherwise, who can stand it? You can't pretend to fight every day, right? Although this is a good idea, it is not necessary, and it can easily scare children. Then I'm going to find a job." Yes, the original owner doesn't have to go to the field because he has a job. Guan Chenyan looked at him like a fool. Isn't it said that the current job is hard to find? It's okay if you have no way and no money, how can you find a job? If she hadn't had the memory of the original owner, she would have believed it. Li Jianxi choked, he forgot this. Forget it, I'll talk about job hunting later, now we should first find a way to stand up at home. How can we say that we are also husband and wife now? You have to be with me. It's not that Guan Chenyan never thought about divorce. Although the world is not so harsh on women, divorced women are also gossiped about. What's more, the original owner's family is not doing very well to her daughter. What if she gets divorced and find a man for her? Instead of looking for someone else, it's better to live the present day. Although Li Jianxi is not a good person, they have known each other for 2 lifetimes. What she can consider, of course Li Jianxi also considered, so this time he didn't say anything against it. I agree with you. Don't just agree. You have to protect the 2 children. In other words, they are also your son and daughter. Look at them as skinny like monkeys. Look at your elder brother and second brother's house, each of them is strong. Guan Chenyangsu talked a lot, and then filled his stomach with a bowl of water before stopping. Even if Guan Chenyan had the element of fooling him, Li Jianxi had to agree, who made them 2 grasshoppers on the same rope now. So he and Guan Chenyan promised, I will try my best to do what you said, and I will try my best to support your mothers. Why did Mrs. Li bully them? Isn't it because the original owner was too honest and didn't know how to stand up for his daughter-in-law and children? But once he stood up, San Fang wouldn't be like that. Although he has taken over the body, it does not mean that he cannot cast aside the original owner. The 2 negotiated the following regulations. Guan Chenyan sent Li Jianxi to the river to pick up water and come back to wash the clothes. In July, the clothes were completely dry after washing in one afternoon. Can I not go? Li Jianxi really didn't want to move, because he was too tired to carry water. Guan Chenyan handed it over. Do you want me to go if you don't go? Just now I vowed to hold up a sky for their mothers. How long has it passed now that this person is going to regret it? Li Jianxi kept muttering in his heart, what did he just promise to do so quickly? Seeing Guan Chenyan's eyes, Li Jianxi shook his head, forget it, he is a man and can't care too much about women. Li Jianxi and Li Jianxi talked about the matter. Li Miao's sister and brother naturally didn't know. At this moment, Li Miao had already taken Li Xiaopeng up the mountain to find food. Speaking of Li Miao, he is also a sad reminder. He has been studying hard for more than 10 years. After graduating from university, he can find a job and return to his parents. In the end, he went through inexplicably. Crossing is just crossing. Others generally have space and system. She tried all the time, but there was no hair. Li Miao felt that if she continued to toss, Li Xiaopeng would suspect that she was mentally ill. Li Miao thought more and more angry, kicked on the stone. The next second Li Miao screamed from the whole mountain. Sister, are you okay? Li Xiaopeng heard his sister's screams and ran over immediately. Li Miao clutched one foot and grinned, do you think I am okay? Li Xiaopeng observed for a few seconds, it's like singing a big show. Li Miao stretched out his hand to rush him, go, hurry up and find something to eat. She drank half a bowl of gruel at noon. She was already hungry by now, and it didn't feel good to have an empty stomach. Had it not been for the food at home to be locked in the room of Mrs. Li and Mrs. Li, Li Meow Meow would have eaten it a long time ago. Fortunately, Li Xiaopeng was lucky. He found a few wild eggs after wandering around for a long time. Li Xiaopeng was so happy that he gave it to Li Meow Meow like a treasure. "Sister, look at it, I just found it." Li Meow Meow was afraid that he would knock the wild eggs broken, so he quickly asked him to slow down. Li Xiaopeng found 8 wild eggs in total, 2 of them were just right for each of the family. Li Meow Meow planned to find firewood to roast wild eggs. Fortunately, she was smart and brought matches when she came out. Li Xiaopeng looked at his sister, but kept swallowing his mouth. "Sister, don't we take the eggs back?" "Why take it back? Of course I have it now." "Just kidding, if they take it back, their sister and brother might not be able to eat a bite. But you used to say you have good things to take home. If you take it back, maybe you can eat scrambled eggs at night," Li Xiaopeng thought happily. Li Meow Meow knocked on Li Xiaopeng's head. "It's definitely not what I said, you remembered it wrong, and if you find something good in the future, don't bring it back. Let's eat it ourselves." Those few days in the second room were outside catching sparrows and digging out bird eggs, and I haven't seen them bring them back. Why do they want to bring them back? Li Xiaopeng clutched his head. "Sister, don't knock on my head, you will be stupid if you knock again." "How can you remember without knocking you?" Li Meow Meow explained. Li Xiaopeng was not convinced. "I will remember without knocking." Li Meow Meow praised. "Our Xiaopeng is really amazing." Li Xiaopeng was so shy to the naked eye. Anyway, the wild eggs couldn't be kept. Li Meow Meow roasted the wild eggs on the spot. After the brothers and sisters finished the 2 wild eggs in one go, the remaining Li Meow Meow wrapped them in leaves. The 2 brothers and sisters did not rush away, and after destroying the fire and egg shells, they went around the periphery a few times. It may be that Li Meow Meow was too lucky, and there was nothing to gain after a few laps, so the siblings had to go back first. The July sun was particularly venomous. The little faces of Li Meow Meow and his brother were flushed from the sun. In the courtyard of Li's house, Guan Chenyan had washed his clothes and dried them. "Where did you go to play? How did you get it like this?" Even if Guan Chenyan has never been a mother before, the memory of the original body is still there. Seeing them now, I feel distressed and give them the veil. Wipe sweat. Li Xiaopeng couldn't help it, grinning. "We went to the mountains." "What are you going to do in the mountains? Isn't it good to have fun at home in such a hot day?" These 2 kids are really, and they don't feel too hot to run so far. "Find something to eat," Li Meow Meow whispered. Guan Chenyan was dumb, blaming the original owner while blaming herself. Guan Chenyan felt that she was dereliction of duty, so she cared about her being up and down all the time, ignoring whether the 2 children had enough food every day. Also, none of their adults can get enough to eat, not to mention the 2 children. Li Meow Meow has been observing Guan Chenyan's expression from the very beginning, but it is a pity that her expression is similar to the one in the impression. When the original body is bullied and wronged, she also looks like self-blame. As a result, Li Meow Meow couldn't tell for a while that her mother was still not her previous mother. So she decided to observe again. But when Li Meow Meow took out the baked wild eggs in front of the Li Jianqi couple, Guan Chenyan's eyes were obviously red. Compared to her, Li Jianqi was ashamed. He has grown up so old that he hasn't thought about grabbing food from his children. "Mum and Dad, we have already eaten them. We leave these for you." Li Meow Meow took the lead in breaking the deadlock. "My dad and I don't eat, you are still growing, you eat." Guan Chenyan is also greedy to talk about gluttony. She has been here for half a month and ate eggs once. Because some nephews of Fang wanted to eat it, Mrs. Li fried a plate of eggs, and Guan Chenyan also tasted it. In her last life, she would lack an egg. She suffered, and Li Jianqi felt that she was also suffering. What kind of life was this? Finally, at the strong request of Li Miamiao's sister and brother, Li Jianqi and Guan Chenyan ate a wild egg. Guan Chenyan kept the remaining 2 wild eggs and let them eat again at night. Taking advantage of the effort of Li Miamiao's sister and brother to go out to throw the eggshell, Li Jianqi and Guan Chenyan in the room said at the same time, "We can't bear it anymore. For myself. Also for the 2 children." When it was getting dark, Mrs. Li and the others came back from work. As soon as they entered the yard, Mrs. Li rushed to the entrance of the 3rd room and yelled, "You 2 lazy people who kill 1,000 knives, all day long, you know that it is delicious and lazy. The last job was for me to fight there, and you lie down at home for an afternoon. How can my mother give birth to something like you?" The 2 rooms in the big room are standing there watching the excitement. At this time, there is nothing good to say about watching the room in the 3rd room. Why are they so busy all afternoon? They stay at home for the whole afternoon. Granny Li spit on and cursed for a long time, knowing that none of the 3 rooms had been opened. Granny Li yelled outside angrily. At this time, a few boys in the 2nd room came back from crazy fun outside. As soon as they entered the yard, they rushed to their mother Zhang Giu and said, "Mom, when should we eat? Our stomachs are hungry." Zhang Giu glanced at the saliva of the old lady Li. At this time, she didn't dare to touch the mold, so Zhang Giu said to her 3 sons, "Ask you for milk." Zhang Giu's eldest son, Li Ziahu, is a tiger. He touched his hungry belly and walked over to milk him. "Milk, when should I eat? I'm hungry." When the old lady Li saw Li Ziahu, her angry face immediately became amiable. "My dear grandson is hungry, I will let your mother cook." Zhang Giu, who was named, said, "Mom, I have been working for a day today, and I am already exhausted. This cooking should be done by my 3 younger siblings. She has been lying at home for an afternoon." Zhang Giu is also a lazy person, and in a few words, he pointed the finger at Guan Chenyan. Su Gaifen from the big room looked at the excitement blankly. "Granny Li thinks too, open the door, you from the 3rd family will come out and cook for me, the family is still waiting for you." Mrs. Li thought she was going to knock for a long time. Knowing that she had just finished speaking, Guan Chenyan helped out the door. "Mom, you are back. I just slept too hard to hear me. I fell my head in the afternoon. It will still hurt my head. Give me some money and I will go to the health clinic." Old lady Li's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. "What is the meaning of what the 3rd wife said? Didn't hear you just slept too hard?" Her voice is so loud that the pigs in the backyard can hear them, but she can't hear them like the dead. Mrs. Li hasn't spoken yet. Zhang Giu screamed, "Mom, don't listen to the 3rd wife, she just wants to be lazy and not work." When I heard that Guan Chenyan just didn't want to work, Mrs. Li's anger went out. "Okay, Guan Chenyan, marrying our family to enjoy the good fortune, right? You still want me to serve you? When I look back, I'll ask your mother to see her. How did you teach your daughter? I still want to ask my mother, how about you? The same as a daughter-in-law. Why can my sister-in-law and second-in-law be lazy for 2 days?" asked Mrs. Li. "Why? You. Mrs. Li would be speechless for a while when Guan Chenyan choked, and the next second Mrs. Li just sat on the ground without image and said that she was suffering. Li Ziahu stared at his milk dumbfounded. Isn't he just hungry and want to have a meal? Why did his milk and the 3rd aunt sing a big show? Can he stop eating? When Guan Chenyan saw that Mrs. Li had put on it, she began to cry and cry, "I have a hard life. I have been married to Li's house for so long. I have not eaten a full meal. I was bullied by the wicked mother-in-law all day long. I want to go. Ask the captain to comment on me. It's a new society, and the vicious mother-in-law treats her daughter-in-law as a long-term worker. I want to ask if the captain should be caught." Guan Chenyan left after speaking. As everyone knows, All the people present looked at Guan Chenyan like a ghost, and said that a dog that can't bark bites people. That's it for the third wife. Granny Li can't even bother crying at this moment. The old man, the second one, you can stop her quickly for me. It's okay to be ashamed at home, how can you throw it outside? Zhang Guo was waiting for this, and rushed up and hugged Guan Chenyan directly. I'm sorry my 3 younger siblings, Mom asked me to do this. Granny Li rushed to the ground and got up. Go, I'll break your leg if you dare to go. Mom, whose leg are you going to break? Li Jianqi came out of the house with a calm face. Seeing him, Mrs. Li began to wipe her tears. The third child, you just came out, you mother-in-law, just let it go. She actually wants to go to the captain to sue me, and I will your brothers. A few pulls, what am I going to picture? Old Lady Li cried and talked a lot, and waited for Li Jianqi to teach Guan Chenyan. Then I knew that Li Jianqi not only didn't say Guan Chenyan, but also said back, Mom, Chenyan, she didn't say anything wrong, if it wasn't for your partiality. Does she have such a big opinion of you? Mom, don't just open your mouth and shut your mouth NNP. If you don't hate it, I still hate it. I blamed Mrs. Li for his vulgarity and caused him to lose his reputation. You are an unfilial son, a wicked thing. Old Lady Li, who had never been hit by Li Jianqi before, was about to faint in anger. How can I be black-hearted when I tell the truth? Mom, I was born to you. If I were black-hearted, what are you? Old black-hearted. What Li Jianqi said was justified. Guan Chenyan, who was stopped by Zhang Guo, clapped her hands in her heart. This person has always been venomous, and she doesn't leave room when she talks about herself. I didn't expect that it would be so joyful to come up with Mrs. Li. Granny Li sat on the ground. I'm not alive anymore, my son dared to disobey my old mother, God, please open your eyes. Su Gaifen, as Mrs. Li's eldest daughter-in-law, is on Mrs. Li's side this time. I said that the third child, Mom is an elder, and she is not doing it for your good as an elder. Are you not happy to go? Li Jianqi looked calm. I'm not unhappy, am I not telling the truth? Sister-in-law, if you find my words unpleasant, you can help my daughter-in-law to do some work. Hello, then I admire you. Mom, don't cry on your stomach, turn around and dirty your clothes, and have to let my daughter-in-law wash them again. Don't you just hold on when you are full and have nothing to do? Su Gaifen has a stiff face. She has been slapped like this for the first time since she has been married to Lao Li's house for so many years. Granny Li can't keep crying. She used to be blind to think that the third child is honest. Listening to what he said, it's not bad if you don't get angry. After Li Jianqi finished speaking, he still looked good for Mrs. Li. Mom, you are right when you get up. If someone sees it, they think you are unreasonable and deliberately bully. Granny Li, she is bullying, what's the matter? Zhang Guo, who also stopped Guan Chenyan, has long been stunned. What is the situation, isn't it teaching the youngest couple? Zhang Guo wanted to ask, but she didn't dare. Granny Li patted the ashes on her body, and gave Su Gaifen the key she had with her, and asked her and Zhang Guo to cook. Su Gaifen was a little unwilling. Mom, I've been tired all day. Granny Li shook her face directly. Just you tired? Am I not tired? If you let you cook, then go quickly. It doesn't matter if the eldest third is slapped in public, the eldest wife wants to rebel too? No way. Li Jianqi leaned over to the old lady Li. Mom, you are right. My wife can't cook alone. She doesn't taste good, and it's a waste of food. The truth is, by the way, my head still hurts. You can give me some money to get some medicine. You have no money, you can get away. Mrs. Li now sees Li Jianqi and her chest hurts. Li Jianqi is willing to give up, and follow the old lady Li. Mom, get me some brown sugar, I want to drink some brown sugar water to make up. Old Lady Li came up again angrily, "Drink your big-head ghost, what kind of brown sugar water is your big man drinking, can you drink that kind of expensive stuff?" "Mom, what you said, why can't I drink it anymore? Am I not a member of this family?" Li Jianqi refused to forgive him. Seeing that Mrs. Li didn't say anything, Li Jianqi started to chat again, "Mom, why don't you talk? If you share something that can be drunk in the second room in the big room, you can't drink it in the third room, right? It's really a sin, how did I give birth to such a son? Old man, you can count back, the third child is going to force me to be a mother." Old Lady Li began to howl again. Li Jianqi turned around and saw the old man Li who had entered the yard. "Dad, you just came back. I have a headache and asked my mom to pay me to the health clinic. Mom was not willing to give me the money. I said that I wanted to drink brown sugar water to make up for it. Physically, she can't bear it either. Dad, just ask me if I belong to this family, right? The third child, you don't know if you are accustomed to saving money. Why did you catch your mother?" The second child Li Jiandang directly trained Li Jiantang. "When did I say that it's not my mother? I'm not telling the truth yet. Why did their 3 rooms have such a hard time? The benefits are not occupied by the second room." Old man Li had a dark face. "What is the trouble? The third one wants brown sugar, can you just give him some brown sugar? He has been tired for a day, and finally can rest, and the family still keeps going. You said it is light, brown sugar is more expensive, it is for Xiaohu and his brothers to supplement their bodies, the youngest body is so strong, what to supplement? There is no way for her to take brown sugar to Sanfang." Guan Chenyan on the side couldn't listen anymore. "Mom, Xiao Peng is also your grandson, why didn't you say you want to make up for him? Poor, Xiao Peng grows so big, we don't even know what brown sugar water tastes like. What kind of thing, I'm going to ask the captain, ask the Women's Federation regardless of class rule." Guan Chenyan left after speaking. Old man Li's eyebrows jumped up and down. "The third wife, you come back to me." Li Jiandang stopped watching the excitement, so he hurried to persuade Guan Chenyan, "I said the youngest wife, why should there be a small matter to the team leader? How busy the team leader is." Old Lady Li said, "Let her go, let me see if the Women's Federation is on her side or on my side." Guan Chenyan ran away. Old man Li glared at Mrs. Li and asked Li Jianqi to call Guan Chenyan back. Li Jianqi didn't move. "I won't go, if my mother is doing unfair things, she should be educated by the Women's Federation." Old man Li choked, "You old lady won't bring me brown sugar. A dead old woman is not ashamed, he is also ashamed." Even though Mrs. Li was reluctant, she still moved into the house. Old man Li said, "The third child, your mother is going to get brown sugar. You should chase your wife back quickly." "Dad, this is what you said, if my mother doesn't give brown sugar, I will personally call the Women's Federation people to the door." Old man Li. This unfilial son. Li Jianqi had tall legs, and soon caught up with the angrily Guan Chenyan. "What are you doing here?" Li Jianqi told Guan Chenyan what he had just said, and Guan Chenyan sneered, "The old man knows he's afraid now? What did he do before, does he really think we are bullied?" Li Jianqi agreed, "It's because we are too bullied, so no one listens to our words." Guan Chenyan. "Will this person die if she doesn't think about it?"